My name is Ellison, and this is my testimony. I was trying to think of where to start because there's so much that God has done in my life. I just want to share it all, but I'll just start with, I got saved when I was 11 or 12. My memory's not that great, but I do remember getting saved at a little church. And after that, I walked away from God, and I didn't just walk away, I completely turned my back on God. And a lot of the things that I'd done between then and when I rededicated my life to the Lord, they break my heart now. I feel really bad. I know I caused people to sin, and I just wrecked my life. Of course, at the time I didn't see it. Now looking back on it, I can see how much I was hurting myself and everyone around me. But I'd like to start where I rededicated my life to the Lord just a few years ago. I was in a very dark place, very angry, very anxious, depressed. Everywhere I looked, it was never. I couldn't see anything good around me. I tried to numb it with alcohol and pain pills, and even my wife, she's seen the problem that I was having before I even realized it. I'd get mad at her whenever she was just trying to help me, but. I was just in a very dark place, and I tried to fill this emptiness, this hole inside of me with alcohol and things, and yeah, it was okay for a little while, but you wake up the next day and you feel drained and you feel worse than you did the next day, and it just progressively got worse and worse and worse. And I was working at a plywood mill, and there's a guy that I worked with there. Always had a smile on his face, always the same attitude, so pleasant to be around. And at the time, it just made me sick because I was like, what does he know that I don't know? Little did I know, he knew the one person I really needed to get to know. But I seen him one day, and he just looked like he had been tarred and feathered. He was covered in sawdust and hydraulic fluid, and he had been cussed out by one of the supervisors up one side and down the other. And just came over to me and asked me, it was just so pleasant, and asked me did I need any help. And I was like, what is it about this guy? And he kept inviting me to church, and I was like, oh, it's Jesus. Oh, I've been down this road before. But it was different. It was different. And I was the type of person that if I heard a preacher on the radio or I heard gospel music, I couldn't cut the radio off fast enough. And I knew something in me, and I thank God for this. Something in me was telling me, that this is what you need to hear. But I was fighting it so much, and it just kind of slowly, that him showing me the love of Jesus Christ started me to thinking. He wasn't pushy about getting me to know Jesus or inviting me to church. He was just showing me love. I would get mad at something at work, and I'd throw my wrenches and I'd cuss, and then he'd just be standing there just waiting for me to finish to come over and ask me if I needed help. And I was like, it just made me want to cry, And now I know that was God drawing me in, he was convicting me. And he started inviting me to church, and then I fought that. I didn't want to come. And I started talking to him more, and he finally, every time I talked to him, he'd open up a little more to me about Jesus. And, I just got to thinking, and the more I got to thinking, the more it's just like God was rushing in, trying to, just fill me with all this information. And I got to thinking one day, I remember it like it was yesterday, I was still just I'd gotten to the point to where I was just numb because pain pills and alcohol and, just trying to fill my life with all these things so I didn't have to think about, all the problems. God was telling me, just think about it. And I tried to, I was hoping that anything, and this is going to sound silly, but I was hoping that, anything I could watch on TV like that was spiritual other than Jesus, that I could latch on to, because I knew I needed something other than what I was clinging on to. And I was just like, anything but Jesus. There's got to be something. There's got to be some meaning to all this. There's got to be some way out of all this. And I wanted anything to be true, except for Jesus. And God was telling me, He's like, well, just think about it. What name in all of history, throughout all of history, there's one name out of all the famous figures throughout history? What's the one name that people use as a cuss word? It's Jesus Christ. I'm guilty of that myself. And I was thinking, I was like, well, I don't know. And He's like, well, what's the one faith that is the most persecuted across this world? It's Christianity, true Christianity. And that just drove it home, that the devil hates the truth. And he will do anything he possibly can to keep you from the truth. And I finally realized that's what he was doing to me. He was trying his best to keep me from Jesus. Jesus Christ is the truth. He's the way, the truth, and the life. And my only regret is not giving my heart to Him sooner. And, but anyway, it just went on like that for several weeks. I fought it, and and I'd go back to alcohol, and I'd scrounge the house looking for pain pills and stuff like this. My attitude toward everybody, I didn't realize it, but I was pushing everybody I loved away. My kids, my wife, my coworkers. And, I got to the point to where we were living in a small house just down the road, and I'd had enough. I just didn't want to do it anymore. I was sick of life. Every time I turned around, something else was falling apart. And in the state that I was in, I wanted it to be everybody else's fault. I was blaming everybody else. I was blaming the government. I was blaming the state of the country. I was blaming my employers. I was blaming my wife and my other family. God finally just broke me down. I didn't know what to do, what to say, where to go, and He finally broke me down and told and helped me to realize that I was the problem. It was me. The decisions that I was making, I was the problem. I went in that bathroom. Not a lot of people know this, but I went in that bathroom in that house, and I didn't want to come out. I didn't want to come out because I was sick of it. And thank God He helped me to see how selfish of a decision that would have been. He helped me to see what I was leaving behind. And He helped me to see that He loves me. Even when I was trying to fill my life with everything that I shouldn't have been, He still loved me. And I thank God that He was continuing to draw me in. And if there's any advice I can give you, if you hear the voice of God, if you feel Him tugging on your heart, do not ignore it. Because the more you ignore it, the softer that voice gets until you just about can't hear it anymore. And I'm telling you right now, I broke down to that bathroom, and I gave my heart to the Lord. And I started coming to church. Some days it was still a fight. It was still a fight. Because sanctification is a process, and I'm learning that, But He has never left me. And all those things, like I see the state of the world, and it's even worse now than when it was before. But, by the grace of God, all the things that used to trouble me so much, and all the problems and all the issues, financial issues, whatever it is, by the grace of God, I can endure it now. My relationship with my kids, my wife, my family is so much better now. don't need that stuff. I just need Jesus. And it's so hard to, sometimes you just want to grab folks by the shoulders and just, please understand. I wish I could make you feel what I'm feeling and understand what I understand. You know, C.S. Lewis, I think, said it best. He said, I believe in Christianity as I believe that the sun has risen, not because I can see it, but by it I can see everything else. And I'm so glad, like all the problems in the world, I can see how a lot of the things that's going on now is just laying the foundation for what God is, you know, for his plan for the future. I'm not worried about, I'm concerned about it, but I'm not worried about it. I'm not full of fear about it because I know how the story ends, you know. And there's, like Billy Graham once said, you know, the world can be falling down around a follower of Jesus Christ, and they can be so calm because the love of our Savior flows like a calm river underneath all of that. And I never knew what true peace and assurance was until I gave my heart to the Lord. It's unexplainable, and it's not just an experience. It's life. It's you're a new creation, you know. And I kept hearing that over and over again in churches and stuff like that. You know, until I really meant what I said when I gave my heart to the Lord, I never really understood it. And you know, I started going to church after that, and you know, it's like I could hear God's voice loud and clear. You know, they were struggling with some of the music, you know, and they were doing their best. You know, the preacher was up there singing, and he'd have to preach a message, and I was just like, you know, the Lord kept telling me, like, you need to go up there and you need to help them. You need to ask them if you can help them. And I did. I fought it for about a month, but I finally got up the nerve to go ask. You know, the preacher's like, well, you know, you gotta be serious about this. This is a dedication. You know, this is not just something you can do when you feel like it. You know, this is serving the Lord. And I was like, okay. So a couple of weeks went by, and the Lord kept on me about it. And I was like, all right. I told the preacher I want to help. I feel real strongly that God is wanting me to help y'all with the music. And he said, okay. And the whole way home, I was thinking, what have I gotten myself into? Oh man, I don't. But it has been an absolute blessing, because instead of me scrambling, focused on the things of the world, you know, my time is caught up in working on music, working on worship music, and filling my life and filling my heart with worship. And you know, am I perfect? No. By far, I am not perfect. You know, God's still chipping away things at me. But every time I fall, I get right back up and I fix my eyes and I fix my heart on Jesus. And He gives me the strength to pull through, you know, whatever I'm going through. And He's just taught me so much along the way. One thing I have learned, and I'll never forget, if the devil is fighting you tooth and nail to keep you from something, then that's an indication that whatever that something he's trying to keep you from is, you need to go after it. Because if he's fighting you and he's not for it, then that means something great is going to come out of it. Because he fought me about doing music for the church I'm in now. We were doing some outside revivals. And it terrifies me to get up there in front of anybody. It terrifies me to do this. But it terrifies me to get up in front of anybody and sing or speak. And it definitely to get outside in front of everybody over speakers and sing and play and worship the Lord. You know, I was terrified about it. The devil fought me so hard before that happened. And I pressed it. I quit about 1,000 times in my mind. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to come up with every excuse under the sun why I wasn't going to do it. But I pressed in, prayed, and we did it anyway. And it was one of the most wonderful times worshiping the Lord I've ever had in my life. And, you know, I believe that God keeps me outside of my comfort zone like that, because being outside of your comfort zone makes God's help unmistakable. It makes His help and His presence absolutely unmistakable. So if that's the case, I'll gladly stay outside of my comfort zone. But I really just, for anybody watching this, I just encourage you to give Jesus Christ a chance, because this world, it will chew you up and spit you out. It doesn't care. Once your usefulness to this world has run its course, it will leave you to die. But Jesus will never leave you. He will never forsake you. And the things that you think that you're going to lose by following Jesus, you'll realize that those things that you do lose by following Jesus were killing you anyway. So I just encourage you, give Jesus some serious thought, because He loves you more than you know. I'm Kyle Ellison. I've been altered. So broken and so alone, I come to you, Lord. So tired and so worn from doing this my way. I come to you, Lord. I lay it all at your feet. You paid such a price